Everywhere you look online, major global conflicts are reframed as memes, comedy, and shareable clips. And increasingly, those formats are being adopted not just by users, but by the governments and political actors involved. From posters to speeches, propaganda has always adapted to the media of the moment. Now, it's being shaped for the algorithm, borrowing the visual language of movies and video games. At the start of the conflict between the US, Israel and Iran, official Iranian social media accounts shared posts condemning the killing of children at a primary school in the Minab province. Stark messages drawing modest engagement online. But within days, a different kind of content began to take hold. Videos like these began appearing from pro-Iranian accounts and groups. Short, AI-generated, humour-led clips portraying President Donald Trump as a Lego-style character.
I'm really rich, said the man who begs for donations. LMAO, selling Bibles and speakers to a broke nation. Go play the toilet, can't flush the truth. It's giving con man, every indictment just more proof.
The videos travelled widely, many racking up millions of views. Soon, commentators were saying Iran was winning an information war against the US. In some ways, the content mirrored material the White House itself has been publishing. Posts designed for social media depicting President Donald Trump as a Jedi, a king, and even as Jesus Christ himself.
It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better, and I do make people better. I make people a lot better.
The president later deleted the post, but by then it had taken on a life of its own online. Content designed to provoke emotion has always travelled further than sober traditional messaging. And as AI continues to lower the barrier to producing it, that kind of content can now be created at a scale and speed never seen before. Using freely available tools, I created my own Lego avatar and Lego Primetime Studio, all in less than 5 minutes. Modern political propaganda now exists in your pocket and on your screens, competing with news, video games, and every other kind of entertainment. Platforms reward what performs. That logic now dominates how political messaging circulates online. First published by the White House, this clip blends video game imagery with real footage from strikes on Iran.
Oh shit, here we go again.
Versions of the same clip were then edited and reshared across social media.
I think in this world, and especially on social media, shock, if you can shock people, that is one of the strongest ways that videos can go viral.
Stevie Haughey runs some of Ireland's most popular meme and culture pages, built largely around humour, shared experiences and everyday Irish life.
But we just wanted to see, would Irish people wear the Trump hat for €20? The majority of people said no, and then one English guy wears the hat, and it's quite a twist at the end.
I'd wear it for free.
Would you?
Yeah.
Want to wear it?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, absolutely fine.
Really?
Absolutely fine.
The weird thing about social media is you don't have to agree with it to share it, and sometimes the most polarising content actually does the best, because you get people who feel very strongly about it, but then the people on the complete flip side, they share it and they're saying, I don't agree with this, and then they engage with it. So you get this weird thing where like people are spreading the same video, but they have completely opposing views.
What Stevie's describing isn't a quirk of social media, it's how platform algorithms are designed.
I guess we're all now living in the attention economy, where I made reference a while ago to if you have a period of time within the day that you can take out your phone and just relax and switch off and you just want to be entertained, these clips are competing with your favourite sports team in terms of what they did for the weekend or what the latest celebrity scandal is.
Here at Primetime, we also package our work for social media in the hope that it will be clipped, shared and circulated online. Like everyone else, we're operating inside the same system. But that doesn't make everything propaganda. It means all content is now shaped by the same rules.
It's engagement. So long as they view themselves as being the talking point. If they put out something as ludicrous, as insane as they can, and people are talking about it, regardless of them it's positive or negative, that's their position, that's fine.
Now end this! Flawless victory.
If you can stir up an emotion and get a reaction and get someone to take action and to comment or like or share, that's one of the key ingredients for a viral video. So emotions are important.
That's actually probably part of the genius of it. In some cases, the more absurd, the more eye-catching, the more powerful they become.
That was Jark McCarran reporting there. Well, I'm now joined in studio by Liz Carolan from the briefing.ie and from Cork by David Gilbert, who's a reporter of The Wire. David, let me start with you. Look, there's nothing new about propaganda, but I suppose it's the scale, it's the prevalence of these short-form entertainment propaganda posts. I mean, they're everywhere online, aren't they, David?
Yeah, we've seen it for quite a while now, but I think the Iran war has really supercharged it for a lot of people. The Lego videos that Jack was talking about there have become just so shareable. The Iranians have really tapped into something. And I think it's important to say that while you can post everything online, in order for them to be clicked and shared, they really have to understand online culture. And that's what has changed in the last couple of weeks with Iran. We've seen their output really reach audiences outside of Iran, especially in the US. I was speaking to some of the creators of those videos, and they say that people from the US are even sending them messages to say you should, satirize this next. So the fact that they really understand online culture is important, because I think while there is just a flood of information out there, in order for things to be shared and clicked and really have relevance to an audience, they have to understand the meme culture that so many people have grown up with now. And
of course, David, we will never remember a time in the past where a US administration will put up a post of their president, whether it's of God or him as, a fighter pilot. It's so bizarre. But who's leading who there? Are, for instance, in the cases you mentioned, Iran and the US, are they just mirroring each other, or is one driving it?
Well, it's something that's been around for quite a while. Even in the Ukraine-Russia war, we saw memes being used to kind of undermine Russia's power. But in this case, the US administration, Donald Trump's second administration, has really supercharged this idea that governments can post memes as part of their traditional communication. But what's different here, I think, is that the Trump administration's posts are really speaking to a core base of loyal followers already. Whereas what Iran has managed to do is break the kind of wall, and it has reached out beyond pro-Iranian audiences, and it's managed to reach Western audiences. And as a result, people in the West are, laughing and sharing at these Lego memes because they're anti-Trump. But what they're forgetting about is that the Iranian regime has been perpetrating atrocities against its own people. So that's a huge win for the Iranian regime, because it's got people in the West talking about Iran positively, even if they are, doing so in a way where they're sharing these Lego memes. But I would say that Iran is definitely winning this kind of online digital war at the moment.
Liz, what do you think? Is this something to be worried about? Do you think people know their propaganda? What do you think?
I think for the particular videos we're talking about, those Iranian Lego videos, people are well aware that they're propaganda, but they're so well attuned into the kind of culture, into the zeitgeist. Like what's more worrying really is the clandestine propaganda campaigns. So efforts to try and influence our behaviour, which we don't know are efforts. So, creating fake influencers who are already kind of in people's algorithms and who are trying to change the way people think and then the way that they behave.
Yeah, and do you also think, though, I was mentioning there about the US administration, that when they're both vying with each other, are they mirroring each other? Are they just trying to get one up on each other? And do people know what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what the Trump administration is doing, it feels like a kind of an evolution of what they did during their election campaign. Memes really worked for them in that campaign, in part because, as we heard in that piece, the way that, in the internet, the attention economy works is it doesn't matter if people hate you as long as they're sharing you get out there. That's not how global conflicts and propaganda works. It's not enough for the Trump administration to just convince everybody in America that Iran is bad. They know that. What people in the country want to know is, why are you spending billions and billions of dollars and making things more expensive for us? And that's not something that they're addressing. Whereas the Iranian propaganda, it's at a very different level of sophistication, and that's in part because it has to be, because they're militarily outgunned, and this is the weapon that they're choosing. But I think the Trump administration are probably a little complacent, and they kind of feel like, well, we beat Kamala with this tactic, surely this will work for an international conflict, which is incredibly naive.
Do people need to be worried about this, or is that being too po-faced? I mean, the real concern is the level of disinformation online. Is there a crossover between this type of short-form propaganda, David, and the insidious disinformation that unfortunately many people do believe?
Absolutely, there's a crossover. I think it's really difficult now when people go online to know exactly what's real and what's not real. Obviously the Lego videos, people realise that this isn't official videos or anything like that, but I think it just adds to this sense that everything that you see online is somehow tainted and biased, and it's hard to judge exactly what is real and what isn't real. The disinformation campaigns that Liz spoke about, the kind of ones that we can't see them happening and they're happening in secret, those two are being supercharged right now with AI, and we won't really know the real impact of those for weeks, months, possibly years to come. And I think people are really struggling to get a grip with what we're seeing online because of AI, because of the kind of prevalence of these propaganda and disinformation, and it's really difficult, and I think it is something that we need to worry about.
Quick word.
And if I can loop back to the first item that we had, I mean, the best way to counter bad information is with good quality information. And, Ireland has good quality public service broadcasting, and making sure that is well-resourced and trusted by people is the best thing that the country can do in order to counter this type of disinformation and propaganda.
OK, well, look, Liz, Caroline and David, thank you both very much for taking the time to join to us tonight on Prime Time.